Hello viewers and welcome to Daily Politics. I'm Hamza Idris. The Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL, has confirmed an upward review of pump price of petrol. Garbadi Mohammed, Chief Corporate Communications Officer of the corporation, confirmed this in a statement on Wednesday afternoon. In Abuja, NNPC outlets are selling from 530 naira per litre, while private outlets charge 600 or more for a litre. In far-flung places like Maiduguri, a litre is sold for over 700 naira. And in a related development, the federal government on Wednesday met with officials of Nigeria Labour Congress over the removal of fuel subsidy. The NLC National President Joe Ajero confirmed the meeting during an interview with Star television station on Wednesday morning. The outcome of the meeting is still sketchy, but the NLC president said they rejected the decision of President Bola Tinubu in total. Also, there are many reversals of appointments across the country after the inauguration of various governors. For instance, in Sokoto, Governor Ahmed Aliyu has taken his first decisions with nullification, reversal, suspension, and revocation with immediate effect of all last-minute approvals by the outgoing administration of Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal. They included the nullification of with immediate effect of all appointments made after March 19 by the government. Addressing journalists at the government house, the press secretary to the governor, Abubakar Bawa, said the governor has also suspended review in due course of all public interest, the recent appointments of traditional rulers made by the former governor, among other issues. On the program tonight, we will be talking to a retired permanent secretary in the Federal Civil Service, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed. He's also the Director Advocacy of the Pan-Northern Nigerian Group, the Northern Elders Forum, NEF. He joins us to discuss the gaps and expectations in the presidential inauguration speech of President Bola Tinubu. Welcome to our studios, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Hamza, and thank you for inviting me to this brand new. For me, it's brand new.
Yeah, we've been using it for quite a while. Thank you very much for coming. And is it happy inauguration or happy new season, or I don't know how to put it?
I really don't know. I think it's a new era for the nation.
New era. Okay, that is good. Well, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, the conversation commences. Stay with us. Yes, we have the Director of Advocacy, Northern Elders Forum, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed. We welcome to the complete removal of subsidy. Did you receive it with a surprise, or you anticipated something like this?
To be honest, I think most people who have been following the trend in the last few years know that at one stage or the other, we have to deal with this issue. Whether it's removal of subsidy or removal of the cause of massive corruption, I don't think there's any area in this country where there has been so much corruption as in the issue of subsidy. I'm not surprised. The politics of it is a bit interesting. President Tinubu says, don't blame me. This was done by President Buhari.
Yes.
He didn't make provision for it in the 2023 election. President Buhari says, I'll draw the line at my time, and the decision will be President Tinubu's. So it's an interesting point. Who do you hold responsible? But I think it's a second. That issue of who is responsible is secondary to two things. One is that it's going to be massively difficult for people to live. It's going to be an additional burden on the cost of living. There's a flaw in the argument against removal of subsidy. And that flow is based on a class analysis. People who want to remove subsidies tell you, oh, it's only the rich who are enjoying subsidies.
Yes.
People with 5 cars and 6 cars, and they get cheap petrol. And so if you remove subsidy, they are the ones who suffer. And the poor doesn't. And that's false. It's not true. The man who has 5 cars or 6 cars in his house can park 2 or 3 cars and use 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And there will be some changes in his life, but he gets along fine. The man who doesn't have a car now has to buy things 5, 6 times at the cost of what he was getting, because vehicles have to carry things to and from markets. Everything that is dependent on movement, the cost of everything goes up. So the poor, who has borne the brunt of corruption, which is the real reason behind this opaque and terrible monster that was created around subsidy. Nobody knew how much money we're spending. All these figures they are telling you.
They're just throwing them.
They're just telling you. Figures, trillions, this is what we're spending. No one will tell you how much we're importing. No one will tell you how much we're subsidizing. Ministry of Petroleum will give you a
Even
figure.
the Senate committee, and I think the House committee on
No one.
on petroleum.
No one.
They said after several months, around 17 months, they ended up coming out with almost nothing. They said they could not ascertain the volume of fuel being consumed in Nigeria. Now, this decision taken by Tinubu today, is it okay by you?
No decision which puts additional burden on the population would be okay by anybody. I'm sure even President Tinubu cannot tell you that he's okay with it.
Because we did a vox pop in the evening, and we discovered that some people who paid like 200 to come to work, they had to pay around 600 to go back. Will they be able to go to work tomorrow?
Well, life is going to be a lot more difficult. There's no doubt about it. A lot more difficult. Now, the hope is that this difficulty will be short, it will be brief, maybe cushioned by some other policy measures that makes it slightly easier for people to live, and that you are now going to save all this money that you are using to subsidize. You are now going to quickly push it towards improving areas where, in terms of improving production, in terms of improving, reducing the pains of a very high cost of living. But nobody can give you a time frame. When are we going to see the benefit of the removal of subsidy? And how?
Yes, and I think it is probably the only thing that the poor is benefiting. I don't know. Well, directly or indirectly, because as we have seen today, cost of transportation has skyrocketed, and basic goods have also started climbing up.
You know, Hamza, in itself, a subsidy is not a bad thing. It's the corruption that made the subsidy so much of a monster on the neck of the Nigerian citizen that became the problem. If people were not just simply ripping the Nigerian economy apart under subsidy, we wouldn't have had a problem. People can then hide behind this argument that God gave us petroleum. Please let us enjoy something out of it.
Yeah.
You understand? That's the usual argument. But then everybody who is around the petroleum industry, in the finance management of government finances, everybody was ripping the Nigerian poor around. So the question to ask here is, are we better off in a regime that has removed the subsidy and therefore transferred the burden of that on the citizen in the short term?
Yeah.
And what is the short term? When are we going to see the benefits? So the problem for President Tinubu's government is to now say to Nigerians, listen, first, we didn't do this.
Yeah.
And people are not likely to believe blame. People are not likely to believe this, but let's even assume that they believe them. The next thing would be to say, people will say, okay, so what are you going to do?
Yes, because
we can't live with 600 liters of petroleum. We don't have cars, but you've transferred the burden of this on us. Everything in the market will go up. All the things that we buy are going to go up. Cost of everything will go up. So this is the time that this administration needs to really sit down and find imaginative and genuinely productive ways in which they can channel the benefits of the removal of the subsidy. And it has to be early.
You did a write-up, which is actually the basis of our discussion today, that the speech President Tinubu did not read, something like this. And you started with a quotation: leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Now, Tinubu, almost all the contenders for the presidency, they all said they are going to attack the monster subsidy head on once they get to power, and he has done this. Now, in the speech he didn't read, what did you find that has a correlation with what happened today?
Quite a lot. Vision. Start from where you started. Leadership is the ability to translate vision into reality. What was his vision of Nigeria? He must have had an idea in his head.
Yes.
I asked him if you remember, there was a period when some groups in the north got together in Kaduna, and we called the Arewa Joint Committee, under which we invited presidential candidates.
Yes.
We invited 6 people, 5 people turned up.
Only Konkoso.
Yeah, didn't come. The question I asked Tinubu, there was a panel that asked them questions, and the question I asked him.
You asked Tinubu?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't ask him the same question I asked Atiku, which was, why should the North trust you?
Okay, that was the question you asked Atiku.
Yes.
Why the North should trust? Is it that you feel he is more amenable to the South, or?
No. I mean, I felt that we need to interrogate the fact that he shouldn't expect support from the North just because he's a Northerner.
All right.
Tell us why. You know the problems we have. You come from the North. Tell us why you think we should trust you, and why we shouldn't trust someone else. But in Tinubu's case,
yes.
I asked him a different question. I said, if you become president, your administration will be an extension of President Buhari's. And under President Buhari, we've suffered a lot. In his 8 years, Nigeria pays a huge amount of losses in terms of our security, in terms of our welfare, in terms of our economy. Poor governance under Buhari. Tell us what would be different. And his response was, now I see in a way perhaps what he wanted to say. Basically what he said was, well, it hasn't done too badly.
Okay.
Which is what you expect him to say
Political
anyway.
statement of sort.
But then he said, and in any case, he's Buhari and I'm Tinubu.
Okay.
And that's a statement that you should take seriously. So what makes
the statement must be pregnant, maybe, in your estimation.
Yes. What makes Tinubu different from Buhari? Why did you want to become president? What do you want to do with the power? Certainly, you couldn't have wanted to be president, so that the very first week of your presidency, Nigerians are saying, "Oh my God, what is going on? I can't feed, I can't go to work, I can't."
Yes.
So what's your vision? And that's why I use that quotation. What is your vision? If you want power, but you don't know what to do with it, you have no business having power.
Now, the first decisions he has taken, which direction are we really heading to? Jokingly, during our evening meeting, our editor-in-chief, he read something, he laughed, and he read it for us, that some people, Nigerians, they make comic out of almost everything. Sure. Someone said that with this decision, that we should go and bring back Buhari, but we should, Ajabu Shukunde. I don't know.
I feel some sympathy for President Tinubu.
Okay.
I posted a comment on my Twitter page, and I said, whether it is a booby trap or just plain simple lack of experience, this administration has walked into a very difficult situation. And getting out will be more difficult than staying in. And that is the truth. They didn't create the circumstances under which the fuel subsidy has become the monster that it is.
Yeah.
And yet, unfortunately, it's this administration that has to do what past administrations needed to do a long time ago before it became this monster.
Yeah.
So that's his lot. Like I said, the challenge now is to say, fine, we've taken this decision. Whether it was Buhari's or ours, today
They should honor.
Yes, Buhari is in the Daura enjoying himself, and is president.
Is he really enjoying himself, or he has started reading the remarks from Nigerians? Maybe he has started.
I don't know.
Checking his Twitter account himself.
You never
reading the pages of the newspaper, not summary of what the spokesmen normally take today.
I don't know. You never run away from your history. Never. He can go anywhere he wants. He can go to Niger. He can go to.
As he rightly said.
Yes, he can go to Alaska. But the 8 years of his poor governance is going to remain a record that we.
You are qualifying it as poor governance?
I think it's poor governance.
The whole 8 years?
Well, yeah, he could have done a lot better in many ways. He could have.
But
done
he said
a
he
lot
was
better.
constrained by this subsidy, the whole money going there, COVID, you know, even Russia-Ukraine war and all that.
Buhari came to
drop
power
in oil revenue.
In 2015.
The oil theft.
Yes, Buhari came to power in 2015. 2015. At that time, we didn't have all this COVID, we didn't have Ukraine, we didn't have all these problems.
But oil was less than, is it around $20, $25?
Well, I can't remember, but it wasn't anywhere near, it fluctuated very badly.
Yeah.
The bottom line is that if he scores himself, as he did, he said, I did well, by his reckoning. But the truth about it, we will judge him by the circumstances under which Nigerians live. And that's why that speech you're referring to, the speech he didn't read.
Yes.
Was directed, the plan was, I just sat down, it was my column.
Because I wanted to ask the motivation behind it. Tinubu, he has his speech maybe 1 month ago that he will read.
I didn't write it for him.
Okay, you didn't write it?
No. I didn't write it for him. And that's why I said the speech Tinubu didn't read.
But when you look at the flow, it was as if, you know, just waiting for him to read and he refused to read
before. I had written, you remember I was a civil servant. And one of my jobs in many of the places where I worked, I wrote speeches for heads of state. I was a policy advisor in many, so I knew what to write. I just decided that this week I will write my column. But I would say the speech Tinubu didn't write, because I knew there are going to be things. There are likely to be things in what I would write that he would not say, and I was right.
If you are to put it on a scale, has he actually punctured some of the, spoke on like 50% of what you wrote, or less than that?
To be honest, I wanted to, I wrote it as if, say, for instance, he had asked me to do that. No one knew I was writing anything.
Yeah, of course,
I just wanted it to be in my column.
Yeah.
And I said, if I was writing a speech for Tinubu under the circumstances, I'm an avid student of history. I've followed what has happened. We haven't had a very rosy 8 years with President Buhari.
Yes.
We were along his frontline critics. And it's not a very nice thing. You don't want to spend the rest of your life every time quarreling with the president. So if say, President Tinubu says to me, Dr. Baba Ahmed, I understand you write speeches, please write one. And this will have been what you would give him. That would, because I think my own was more honest. It addressed issues that he either didn't want to touch or his speechwriters didn't feel it was important to do. One of them, and one of the most important, is the fact that Nigerians have to come to terms with the fact that many things have to change. The fuel subsidy is one of them.
You mentioned that.
And that you have to have an honest leadership. Leadership has to be honest enough to tell the citizen that things are tough, why they're tough, what you're going to do about it, in very clear terms. Don't take the citizen for granted.
Yes, and I had my suspicion while reading the speech. Sorry to use that word.
Sure.
I said maybe you were even directing or mocking some people or calling out some people indirectly without calling names because of the specific words you use. For instance, you said, today is not about winners and losers. It is about how we can sustain a journey. What does that mean? Is it that maybe the previous administration did not maybe walk along this line?
No, it was referring to people who contested with him and against him. And against him. People who also wanted to be president. You remember, you know that there's even, I made a reference to the fact that he said Emiloka.
Yes, yes, I have it here.
And no, it was directed at people who contested for him, with him. And he said, he was supposed to have said on that day, on the 29th of May, 2023, it's not a day for winners or losers. All Nigerians are winners. Our democracy has progressed to this point. So it's not about winners and losers. It's about the country. It's about the future. There's no point looking back.
You say it's about the next Nigerian generations to whom we owe great debts. Some people are saying the struggle for, but this is what I'm even saying, that what has started now, some people are saying, some politicians have even started talking about 2027. It's beyond, because this one is over. This is what some people are saying. Now, going by what you said, today we remind ourselves we are Nigerians, a people who are passionate about our convictions that nothing is impossible. Today, it's not about the next 4 or 8 years. It is about lives and fortunes tomorrow and the next decades.
Yes, and it is. May 29 should be a reminder for politicians when you swear in a president and 28 governors. And in the next few days, we're going to swear in the National Assembly members.
Yes.
It's a major transition for the country. It's not about them. It's about the fact that there is a democratic process that has come through a very difficult period. It's still going through a very difficult period. It's about young people. It's about the future. It's not about what we did in the past. It's about the future. So May 29th is a reminder that we're on a journey that has been very difficult. And it has been difficult, especially recently. It's been really difficult. And it's an occasion for Nigerians to pause and take stock. But it's not for celebrating and jumping up and down and I won. That's politics. Leadership is slightly different from politics. Leading a country through very difficult times. It's not about beating your chest and saying, I defeated you, I beat you. Nigerians have seen enough of that. We had great moments, we have really bad moments as Nigerians. But May 29th, when we swear leaders every 4 years, should be a reminder where we are. It's a stock-taking exercise. Where are we? How well have we done? How well can we do? And there are gaps.
Yes, these gaps that you mentioned, and that is where I will bring our, I think, the third tidbit, this transition, both at the center and at sub-national levels. Are you really happy with some of the things that happen, maybe at the twilight of the administration? Look at appointments. But there are certain offices that were vacant for a very long time now. So maybe around 11:30 on 28th, they made appointments. At the state, you see almost everywhere there is chaos. We heard the voice of the new governor of Zamfara, Dauda Lawal, saying that even the vehicle that he will use has been carted away. Spoon, refrigerators, everything. Now in Sokoto, look at the appointments, tons of appointments. At the center, as I said, even airports have been renamed and all that. Now in Kano, look at it. The new governor has started, issuing executive orders and all that. Is this the way transition is supposed to be?
No, it's not.
Okay.
We are supposed to be transiting from a bad situation to a better situation.
Okay.
Standards of accountability should be higher. Leaders shouldn't be doing these things. And this is why, in my version of the speech, there's a place where I said to President Tinubu, where I was serving notice to all the people he meets on the ground. that they are on probation.
Yes, I have it here. Yeah.
And it's not to scare them. It is simply to say to them, where he said, we are going to raise the bar on performance and integrity. And everybody has to be on probation. I will judge you on the basis of the quality of work you do. And if you fail to meet that mark, I'm not going to keep you. And he says that to everybody. He can't just wipe off everybody. However, you ask the most specific question. When leaders make these last-minute appointments, what do they think they are doing? If you have the power to appoint 28 permanent secretaries and the guy who's going to assume power after you has the same power to remove them.
Okay.
So,
and it won't be a crime?
No, it's not a crime. He's exercising the same power you have to appoint people, and he's removing them. So
why are they doing it? Is it greed, or they want to cover some anomalies?
I think it's one of these really crude political thinking. They think that if they appoint people and everybody and the people are jubilating, and another governor comes and removes them, the new governor who removes them gains enemies. They have gained friends, even though they are not in power.
Serious booby trap.
It's very irresponsible. It is very irresponsible. I can give you one example. I suspect, and I emphasize suspect, the national honors that have just been announced.
Yes.
I suspect that they are a very serious violation of the law and due process. I don't think they went through what is required.
Dozens of them.
Yeah, national honors.
Yeah, that's
the people's GCON, CFR. There's a process, Hamza. That's why they have the whole national, under the Ministry of Special Duties. It's a process, and it hasn't changed. There's a law, there's a board, there's a committee that has to vet the submissions from the government. And then they will say yes. Generally speaking, they don't quarrel with the government. But when a president sits down on his own and just decides to dish out CFR and CON.
And you think this was what happened? Maybe he didn't make reference to
I do know that some of the requirements due process, due diligence in terms of who vets what and who exercises statutory powers wasn't followed. And that's irresponsible.
So what do you think President Tinubu should do now? Especially this national honors.
I think he should revisit it.
Okay, what about appointments of boards and heads of serious agencies? You know, in the last 2 weeks, it was actually,
let's
appointment galore of
Let's
sorts.
just say that he should not feel bad about doing anything, provided he had the legal basis for doing that, and there is a good reason to revisit some of the decisions. And that's why in my version of his speech, and I said that no one should take for granted that there is anything we'll not investigate.
Exactly.
We will revisit decisions.
Yes.
We will revisit policies that were done. And that is fundamental.
For him to succeed.
Well, not just for him to succeed, but in the event that some wrongs were done.
Yes.
I am not President Buhari. The Nigerians gave him 8 years to be president.
Yes.
They've just given me a fresh mandate to govern. I have to set my own bar.
Yes.
My own bar would be set at a point where I would ask questions. If I hear or see evidence that some transgressions have been done or committed, I will investigate. And if I find that some wrongs have been done, I will apply the law against them. And we will not draw any boundary. We will not say, for instance, we will not investigate this, we will not, because it was an APC government and we are succeeding an APC government, because an APC government was accountable to Nigerians. They were voted by the same people who voted you, were the same people who voted Buhari. So if Buhari's administration have done something wrong, or a state governor has done something wrong, well, you have no right to draw lines and say, we're not going to ask questions. Or even when we hear questions about improprieties, money missing, beds missing from government housing, we'll close our ears. That is irresponsible and in fact downright illegal, because you just swore in the Bible and the Quran that you will protect the property of the public and you will do the right thing. And there are no boundaries in the law.
No boundaries. All right.
No boundaries.
Thank you very much, Doctor. We'll go on a short break. Viewers, remain with us. We'll be back shortly.
That's great. It's good to see you.
Welcome back. If you are just joining, you are watching Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow us across all our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. Still have in the studio Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, retired Permanent Secretary and Director of Advocacy, Northern Elders Forum. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You were actually maybe reading another speech that Tinubu ought to have read, authored by you.
Well,
but I found it curious because as Director of Advocacy, Northern Elders Forum, you didn't mention anything about the North or the South in your speech. Why?
In a way, I did, without
Okay.
necessarily making reference to the North and South. There were area parts of the speech that emphasized that the need for inclusion would be addressed. The emphasis on doing justice to all parts of the country. And a key part of that speech said, this administration has no favorites and no enemies.
Yeah.
In the speech, and it was a very important part of the speech. He has no favorites.
Is it that the previous administration had favorites of sorts?
Well, I think that is what President Buhari tried to capture in that borrowed comment he made, where he said, we belong to everybody and we belong to nobody.
But was it actually what he displayed during those 8 years? He belonged to nobody and he belonged to everyone?
Well, I said he certainly didn't belong to anybody.
Oh my God.
I don't
Every other person was a victim.
I don't think, yeah, I think he made everyone a victim. Except maybe a handful of people around him. But that's, the real issue is that the kind of leader we need now is the kind of leader who will reintegrate the country.
Okay.
Who would be everybody's president. Who would say, look, it doesn't matter whether you voted for me or not. I'm your president.
Not the 5%.
Yes. No, I hope Tinubu never says that kind of thing.
All right.
Southeast gave me only 5%.
Yes.
This
So
is
they
the
deserve
worst
5%.
possible thing. He gave them a lot. He gave the Southeast a lot more than 5%.
Okay.
But the one they remember is not the second night, the bridge. It's not all the things that he has done in the Southeast. They remember that comment about 5%. Politicians don't say that kind of thing. If other people had become governors, presidents, they won't go around look at these stupid people, look at the little votes they gave me. He is now president of Nigerians. There are parts of Nigeria that voted, he gave me huge millions of votes. And there are parts of Nigeria where I think in the entire Southeast, I don't know what he got, 100,000 votes, if you put them together.
So what is your position? What is the position of the Northern Elders on the equation now? Because it's like there is serious debate, especially in relation to the National Assembly. Where do you belong?
Well, we think that, first of all, the principle that the legislature is an independent arm, is an arm of government on its own.
So
and should be allowed as much as possible to decide its leaders.
you think Tinubu and those around him went overboard by selecting Akpabio and Jibrin Barrow as Senate President, Deputy Senate President, and then Tajuddin as Speaker, Kalu as
I don't know whether Tinubu is directly involved or not, but whether he is or not, the point is this. The legislature is an arm of government, not independent, related to the other arms of government, but it has an autonomy which has to be respected.
Okay.
And its integrity is in part reflected in the manner in which it chooses its leaders. Other politicians should respect that. Now, people think we've done our job as voters. We elected them.
But you are leaders of those voters, especially from the north. And that is why I am asking, where should the northern constituency tilt towards? Especially going by the allegation that everything has gone south now. Despite the fact that we have the vice president.
There are northern senators, there are northern members of the House of Reps.
Yes.
They are as northern as I am. And so they can apply the same concern about the position of the North. Substantially, the North can claim to have created this presidency. And we will be right. The figures will show it.
You also agree to that?
It's not that I agree.
63%.
It's not that I agree. Everybody knows the votes that gave Tinubu the presidency substantially were northern votes. I once somewhere said that the North holds the power to decide who becomes president.
And I think you became a serious victim. Well, I remember
people
all the bashing,
like it.
The trolls.
They thought I was being arrogant because I said
the North can decide.
The power resides in the North.
Yes.
They didn't. I think part of the problem at that time, people didn't even bother to find out what I meant.
Okay.
And also, you remember, it was at the time where northern governors were ganging up to say to the entire North, we don't want a single one of you to even aspire to be governor.
Yes, that's Southern Governors, yeah.
Yes, Southern Governors Forum.
Yes.
And saying no Northerner
Nobody
should
from
even
the
contest, should even aspire to contest.
And you dared them?
Yes, we dared them, and we won that war. We said, no, you can't do that. Well, show us in the Constitution where a northerner cannot contest. And there is nowhere in the Constitution. So you cannot do that. What you can do is to insist that the law is respected. That is to say, the Nigerian voter will ultimately decide, and that the Nigerian voter is all Nigerians.
Yeah,
they can decide who they want.
Yes.
If they want a northerner, they can vote for a northerner. If they want a southerner, they can vote for a southerner. But you cannot say that a whole part of the country should become spectators and just remain and leave it to the south. And look at, in the end, what happened.
Yeah.
The two leading contenders,
from the north,
at least at this stage of the litigation or whatever,
yes,
we just swore in a southerner in the last 4-5 days, a southerner who got most of his votes from the north. The northerners are not stupid.
So what do they start to gain, or what are you bargaining for them now?
First of all, we got what we wanted. That is to say, we got a president that we voted for.
Okay, you are satisfied with that?
Of course, you have to be satisfied. You have to respect the right of the voter to decide. All these millions are made up of single voters who walk from their homes or wherever to go and cast a vote.
So what are your demands now as elders from the president in terms of maybe power sharing, in terms of economic advancement, in terms of addressing insecurity? Because you listed some of these things in your speech.
In the speech that Tinubu did.
Yes, the speech.
We don't want to make demands. If we have to make demands, it will be the same demands that all elders will make. Justice. Be just to all sections of Nigerians. Be fair to everybody. Those who voted for you, those who didn't vote for you, are all Nigerians. They were exercising their rights to vote for you or to vote for somebody else. So no section of the country should pay a price for not voting for you. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we, in the Northern Elders Forum, our position is that we will support President Tinubu.
Okay, you have resolved to support President.
We released a statement congratulating him and saying we will work with him. There's no reason why we shouldn't. He's the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as we speak.
But in the event he attempts to boycott the North, what do you think will happen?
Well, we hope he would not. And we believe that...
Because this is the fear, honestly, that many people are entertaining. And that is why a section of the North is insisting of having leadership of the National Assembly, both the Senate President and the Speaker. And I think, I don't know why they are entertaining that fear.
Is
it justified for them to entertain that fear?
I think it is the wrong politics to apply to say, if just because you have the Senate presidency or the Speaker, then you will guarantee that the interest of the North will be protected. Because, look, we went for 8 years, the Senate president on the 8th Senate where I worked with Senator Saraki. They didn't get along, and you had an APC government. Saraki and President Buhari.
Yes, you were his chief of staff there.
For part of the time.
Okay, part of, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think you should measure or worry about that. At this stage, we want to work with the government of President Tinubu. We want to support him. We want him to support him to succeed. We believe he can succeed. We believe he should succeed, not just for the North, but for the whole of Nigeria. Because the truth about it, Hamza, is that when we speak like Northern Elders Forum or Haneze or Feriperi, we tend to think we live in cubicles. We don't. The problems of the North are the problems of Nigerians. And when people are told, in their millions, to sit at home on a Monday, not come out, and if they come out, they will either be killed or molested, and the whole Monday is wasted because people are sitting at home, the country pays a price for it. It's wrong, and it should not happen. It should not be tolerated. And that is why I was saying in that speech, the rule of law will apply in every inch of this country. So if there is anybody who is entertaining the idea that what prevailed under President Buhari, for 2 or 3 years, IPOB and ESN were keeping people at home on Mondays.
So do you think Tinubu...
And that kind of thing is wrong.
Do you think Tinubu will actually summon the courage to address some of these issues?
He had better. Let me tell you the truth.
Okay.
Of all the things he needs courage to do, it is to fight insecurity. And what you're seeing happening this Monday, boycotting Monday, is actually a sign of the weakness of the Nigerian state. And the Nigerian state must be strengthened to enforce the rule of law all over the country. To go after the bandit, to go after the insurgent, to go after the IPOB people, or whoever is keeping millions of people at home on Mondays.
You are a technocrat. How do you think he should do this?
He should first of all understand what makes the Nigerian state so weak that people can actually be bandits and take over huge territories and just take over communities. Okay. You need to understand, why is the Nigerian state so weak? And then fix it. 2, you need to understand how you are going to fix it. Is it a poor leadership of the people that you've entrusted with the peace and security of the country? If they are, you are the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Everybody who holds a position holds it at your pleasure.
You can hire and fire.
That's why in that speech again, I said, if you don't meet the mark, don't expect that will keep you.
And that was why earlier I said, it's as if you are firing a salvo at President Buhari, because he kept some of these aides 8 years. Well, the first day he came with them, and he left despite all their
he left a lot to learn from. The wrong things. And it would be good for the Tinubu team to learn what President Buhari did. And that's why, again, in the speech, I was specific. I said, he said, we will study what went wrong under President Buhari. And we'll make sure that we do not repeat that.
And if you at least maybe 3 of those things that went wrong, that served as banana peel for the former president, do you have them?
Yeah, I think the first one was a failure to understand the root causes of insecurity.
Okay. Despite being military general.
Yeah.
And this is a civilian. How can you understand now if a general failed to get it right?
Because he has people he can work with and he can talk to and he can ask questions.
Okay. So he should not assume that he knows everything.
No, nobody.
And he has the magic wand to fix it alone.
He shouldn't. He shouldn't. And I think President Tinubu already knows that.
Okay.
The problem for President Buhari was that he was never prepared to lead. He wanted
You people
power.
keep saying this. Everyone we brought to this.
So everybody is right.
Chair from you keep saying he wasn't prepared. This was a man who vied for this office.
Vying for it is a different thing from being prepared. Being prepared, there is an American president who said, if you give me 9 hours to fell a tree,
Yeah.
I will spend the first 6 hours sharpening my axe.
6 hours.
Yes.
He didn't do that.
No. He just
But when he
wanted
came,
power.
he took like 6 months, studying the situation to get it right.
He spent 6 months. He didn't study anything. He spent 8 years. The truth about it is that preparation is different from being in power. What has prepared you? What is your background? Do you just want power because you want to be president? Or do you want power because if you have that power, you would apply that power to actually achieve results? They are two different things entirely. So there's a huge scope for Tinubu to learn from the mistakes of President Buhari.
All right.
And one of them would be learn from his mistakes. What did he do wrong? What didn't he do when he should have done it?
Okay.
What did he do that he should not have done? And there are many. There are many. So I hope that eventually he will get good people who would say, look, sir, there's a huge potential for us to understand. How did banditry and kidnapping become such big industries under President Buhari? There was a few skirmishes before him, in fairness to him, but they became an industry under him. What happened? Where was state institutions, state agencies? Where was the police? Where was intelligence? Where is the traditional? Where are the values that kept the farmer and the herder at peace, even though every once in a while they quarreled?
Yeah.
What happened? How did we lose control of the state? Where in his state, a huge percentage of Katsina was literally under bandits. And he's sitting here in Abuja saying, I want to go to Dora and enjoy myself.
It's not going to be possible.
Well, I don't know whether there are bandits in Dora, but I don't think there is any part of the north today
That is
where there is, nowhere in Nigeria.
Oh my God.
And that is a very sad
Yeah, even
point.
though we are running short of time, I wish we have another hour. But you also said we will revitalize the civil service. I know you mentioned this as a technocrat, someone who served as permanent secretary when permanent secretaries were really answering their names. They were permanent secretaries. In just 1 minute, how will you advise him? Will you say he should revisit Orosanya report? Just in 1 minute.
The statement was that we were going to look at the philosophical foundations and the weaknesses and the operations of public institutions, not just the civil service. Public institutions have collapsed. Basically, they have collapsed under inefficiency and corruption.
So what should he do? How will he get it right in the first 100 days? Because they are the foundation of getting. We have run out of time.
Use the first 100 days to do a lot of studying and understanding. If you already have answers, put them on the ground.
Okay.
You can get 80%. You can get 75%. You may never get 100%.
All right.
So that's important. Understand what the problem is. Then have the courage to apply the solutions to those problems. And don't hesitate. If you are sure it is the right thing to do that. But you need to restructure the country. You need to rebuild public institutions. And you need to restore the faith of the citizen that leaders are actually leading and not stealing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, retired permanent secretary and director of Advocacy Northern Elders Forum, for coming to the program and for your informed perspective. I wish we have more time.
Thank you very much.
Hoping to have you again. And viewers, that's a wrap on today's package. Join us tomorrow for another interesting edition. Bye-bye for now. I am Hamza Idris.